So here we go. We're going to do Google My Maps today. I hope that you guys are ready for this. This is probably one of my most favorite things that I've ever done with Google products. I really need for us to understand that while we think about Google Maps, we think of driving directions or, you know, how can I bypass traffic? I use it that way. But it's not just driving directions. There's so much more to it. And again, I'm so excited. I hope you take this training and just run with it. My name is Gina King. I'm the one-to-one instructional coach here at Garland High School. I work for Garland High School. I graduated from Garland. I'm a mighty owl. I love it here. But I'm not just Garland High School. I work for Garland ISD. So if you ever have any questions or if you ever want suggestions about a lesson or a technology that you are unsure about, feel free to send me an email. Again, my name is Gina King. My email is ggking@garlandisd.net, and I'll be happy to answer your question. Jump on a Google Meet with you during your conference, walk you through something. I'm pretty much an open door, and I just want you to you be able to be the best teacher you can be for our fabulous students here in Garland. All right, so what is My Maps? So what you can do is go ahead and go to mymaps.google.com and just bring it up and look at it. Okay, so anything you do with Google, so if you want docs or if you want sheets, you just do whatever the tool is you want and then do mymaps.google.com and it's going to bring up maps. Okay, so you're going to have a dashboard just like everything else, so you can see I'm a big traveler. I love to go places, and as soon as I decide, okay, I'm going to go here, I get on Google Maps and I start building travel maps. And so basically what I end up doing with this is I send it to any friends or family who are traveling with me, and we use it as a travel itinerary. So you can do a couple of things with it. You can drop pins anywhere on a map. So let's say that you are going to go on a road trip and you're starting in College Station and you're driving to New Orleans. So what you could do is you can, on your map, do like a map of Texas and then scroll down and you can drop pins anywhere on your map. I'm going to show you that with Google Maps and your pins and the things that you add to your map, you can post photos, links, videos. You can add a link to a Google form. You can post questions, like if you're doing Civil War battles or you're doing, I don't know, European history for AP, and you're doing a certain region, you can add in all of that information using pins. You can draw shapes over the map. You can use layers on top of layers and take those layers off and just see certain things. It makes the map and the idea of a map, which is one of our, basic skills that our students need to know how to read as a human being. It just makes it interactive, and we can use this in every single discipline. So you're thinking, how am I going to use my maps in math? Well, you can take the ruler and calculate how many miles, and then take the miles and say, how fast are you going to go? How long will it take you to get there? And then you could go and get the average gas price and say, how much gas is it going to cost? So there are, you are going to have to be really creative with math or science to make Google Maps work for that discipline, but you can do it. Another thing you can do with Google Maps is, My Maps, is change. I'm going to do this. Change the base map. Okay, so I'm going to give you, I want to put this in the chat. Oh, there we go. And I want you to go to my map that I've created. I went to Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago. And on this map, I put it together for all of the librarians that I went to ALA with. Okay. So as you access this map, I want you to say, okay, we're going to start at the DC Convention Center. If we take a cab to the Library of Congress, where could we eat lunch? How do I get from the hotel to the National Gallery of Art? How can you tell the difference between places to go and places to eat? So this is just an example of how you can quickly, easily utilize questioning using Google Maps. Okay. So here's my map of Washington, D.C. And you can see that, okay, we are talking about the convention center. So if I click on the convention center, I believe I made it the purple star. I can zoom in. Okay, so here's the convention center. You can see I put a little icon as the little person in the bed. That means that I stayed at the Courtyard Marriott. Okay, I put it as my home. And then all of the sessions that we were going to do were either at the convention center or they were at the Marriott Marquis in DC. Okay, and so you can see there's some other things here. But if I just want to see my places to see, I can take away the restaurants that I've added. And I said in my instructions, okay, we're going to go to the Library of Congress, which you can see it highlights it here. I put a picture. Did I do that in this one? I don't know if I did that in this one, but you can see the Library of Congress. And I said, let's find a restaurant near the Library of Congress that we can eat at. So you can see that my layer is going to be green and it's going to have a fork and knife. So, okay, a restaurant that I read about near the Library of Congress is Zatanaya in DC, or actually it's We the Pizza. I don't know why it doesn't show up. Here we go. 7 more. There we go. So next to Library of Congress is We the Pizza. And this is a pizza chef. He was on like Top Chef or one of those cooking shows that I watched. And I was like, oh, I want to go here. I want to go here. And I'm not going to lie. It was probably some of the best pizza I've had. But we just walked over from Library of Congress and we ate at We the Pizza. So you can kind of see that you can do a lot of different stuff with this. If I go back to My Maps and I click Garland ISD. So you can see here, I changed this and I made different layers for high school, middle school, elementary school. And then I even added some driving directions on there. Let's go back. I was planning a trip to Tampa Bay last spring break. And so for all of the people that went with us, I did different layers. I did iconic restaurants and I did things to do. And I sent this to my friend and we looked at menus. We kind of mapped things out on like how we were going to get to the different places and places we wanted to eat. Okay. So Google My Maps has the ability to do many different things. Hopefully right now, just by looking at my travel maps, you're already thinking, well, how could you use it in your classroom? Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go back to my, my Garland ISD map. And I'm going to teach you how to do, how to add to it. Okay, so, actually want to take those driving directions off. All right. So let's say that I want to add onto a map. Okay. You got a blank map or whatever. I'm adding to high schools and I want to add on Name and Forest. Okay. So Name and Forest pops up in my Omnibox, my search box, and now it's here. So I can add it to my map. I'm just going to click the plus button to add it to your map. Now, You might not want just it to be a pen. You might want all of your pens to be a certain color. So for me, I've been color coordinating based on the school color. So we know that the Rangers are green and orange. So I can change that color. Okay. So now when I look at my map, I scroll out, I can see these big pins are my pins. So this is Naaman Forest. Well, you know what? I think that for my students, I want to put a picture of it. Much like Garland High School here. When I click on my pin, I not only for my pin put a picture of Garland High School in the Garland Avenue building, but I also put a link to the website. This is what you can do if you're doing like an amazing race. Hey, let's do an amazing race around Garland. And at each one of the high schools, you link out to a Google form that asks questions about Garland High School. Then you move on to Rowlett High School and you add your Google form for Rowlett High School, and they fill out information or your Google form on Rowlett High School. And then at the end of your form, once they submit it, you give them a clue to where they're going to go for the next pit stop. Okay, so kind of see how that's following the TV show Amazing Race. You could even make it like a quiz, or you can put a video here instead of a picture and have them watch a video and then take a quiz on it. And then at the end, the response is the next location that they're going to go to. So it can be fun. Lots of great ideas here. But let's say for Naaman, let me go back to my Naaman Forest. I could do a couple of things. I can edit the pin. Okay. So I can put information here. This is where I would post my Google form link. Or I could add a picture. There are many ways to add a picture, you know, just like everything else in Google. I'm going to do Google image search. And there's good old Naaman Forest, or I could even add their logo. I can add that there, and then I could do their website. Okay. You can add driving directions if you wanted to. And then if you make a mistake or we don't really care about Naaman Forest High School, not really, you can delete the pin entirely. You can also play with the icons like I did on my DC. I made like all of one layer the same color. Or you can add the icons. So I could do more icons, custom icon, Google image search, Naaman Forest High School, Garland. And we have their little icon there. Select. It didn't show up. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, so there are ways that I've gotten that in there, and I don't know why it's not working right now. Probably because my image, I just uploaded Garland and South Garland because I actually have our official logos. But you could add, you know, whatever you wanted to. Like, let's say there are the forests, the Rangers, I'm adding a tree, and I made it green. Okay. So now when I look at my map, I know that the forest is Naaman Forest. I can move on, and let's say middle schools. Like, let's say I want all my middle schools. I don't have time. I've run out of time. I want them all to be purple. There is a menu over here that makes it super easy then to color coordinate those. My elementary schools, let's say I want to keep them all grouped together. I'm going to make them lime green. Okay. So I can zoom in, I can zoom out, and I can see in Garland ISD the schools that I've planted here. Okay. So that's just the basic MyMaps overview. Another thing that I did see on my tips, and I need to go through it, is I can change this base map if I wanted to. So instead of like driving map, I can do just a normal topography map just to show the layout of the land. Google, I guess it's a Google Earth version, and then you can zoom in. Where's my owl? There he is. There's Ollie, and you can see a great picture view from Google Earth of Garland High School and our fantastic fishbowl. And then that's when we were building our vestibule. So you can change your base map. You can do a couple of other things too. Oh, I like the map version of it better. You can come up here and you can select items. That's the little hand. That's what I usually have it on. You can drop a pin. So everybody knows if you are at Garland High School that right across the street is Jack in the Box. And we're not supposed to, but I mean, everybody walks across the street to get yummy food. And it has been there since, I think, the 50s or the 60s. So we have lots of pictures with Jack in the Box. So all you do is select the pin and then drop it. You can do a line or a shape, or you can add a driving directions, and that's what I did earlier. So let me say I want to add as a layer driving directions, and I want to zoom out, and I want to go from Garland High School. Oops, I don't want that. I want to go from Garland High School to Naaman Forest. And so it's going to give me those driving directions on how am I going to get there. You can add a walking route, a biking route. So if your kids if y'all are doing something, around your campus, you can add the walking directions. Like let's say we wanted to walk to, the courtyard at the square from Garland High School, you could do that. This is another thing I really like. If you want to look at distance for something, you can measure that. So I could say, okay, students, I want to know how far away is Garland High School from Sam Houston, okay? And so I know that it's 1.63 miles. And this is where that kind of math lesson comes in. Okay, great. It's going to take 1.63 miles to drive from Garland High School to Sam Houston. Based on 30 miles an hour and gas is this much per gallon, what would the cost to drive from Garland to Sam Houston? And if you don't click out of it, you can keep on going. So if I wanted to do a trip from Garland High School to Sam Houston to HBJ and so on and so forth. So they can add up all of those miles like round trip. So really a great tool to use with our kids. The way we can share it is you can enable link sharing. So, you copy your link and send it to somebody. The only thing that I've found that the drawback for me is seeing, and this is something that I don't know, if you have multiple people adding stuff to a Google MyMap, because I think like I'm the owner of it. Maybe that's something we can do. If you're, I think on the Washington, D.C. map, when I shared it, you can see you don't have those menus. It's because I'm sharing with you a view only version of it. I don't think that you can add to it. So that's the downfall to MyMaps, but it's great if you're setting up the resource for your students. Let's see what else. All right, some resources. I'm really big about, taking other people's ideas. I mean, I'm a teacher. That's what we do. Hey, I do it okay, but there's people out there who do it so much better than me. So I've included some some sites for you to visit, and ideas on using MyMaps in your classrooms. Okay, Google Maps for educators, just some maps that you can use for all of the different disciplines. I love Matt Miller. Anytime he does a training, follow him on Twitter. He teaches you in his video just what I'm doing right now on how to use Google Maps, but then he gives you some suggestions. So if you're an English teacher and you're doing a novel study, maybe you want to use a Google Map to teach them about the setting of your novel. You know, I'm a big fan of using it as a review tool, like you've talked about, especially history. I keep going back to that, but in some of those AP classes, especially AP history, when you have, you know, a certain time period for that region of Europe or whatever that time zone is, or point in history is, just ask them questions, and it's a great way to get feedback from them. So Matt Miller had done 20 ways to use MyMaps, and then he recently published this, and he gives you 60 ways to use it. And a lot of the 60 ways is, of course, the Twitter feed, where educators who use Google MyMaps go and give you their ideas. So I really like that. It's like a Wakelet. And then Alice Keeler, she's another one of my favorites. Between Casey Bell, Matt Miller, and Alice Keeler, they've done so much for me. And so she's going to give you some suggestions. I don't know, probably about 20 here of what you can do with Google My Maps. Now, the Amazing Race resources. So here is a Google site that I found that really kind of walks you through putting together an amazing race using MyMaps. And then I also found a video on YouTube that kind of talks you through how to set that up. I, of course, would probably start with a pen and paper planning document of where you want them to go and how you wanted it to work. And the ones that I've seen have been a Google form, and then you tell them where to start, and they answer those questions, and then at the end when they submit it, it tells them where to go next. Okay, and I think this video is a little bit more in depth than that. Okay, so do I have any questions? That's really all my presentation has in it, because I truly feel that your experience with Google My Maps is going to be you kind of really digging into it. And that's why I started, once I started seeing this, I'm like going, oh, there's so much more to My Maps. So that's why I started with travel itineraries, is because I thought that was the easiest way to get into showing somebody how to use My Maps in their classroom, was to do travel. Okay. There are lots of resources out there. You know, you can Google using My Maps in the classroom. There was another guy, and if I can, before we get finished with our session today, if I could locate his website, he's done some amazing things with Google Maps, and I'll put that in my presentation. Okay, but for now, I'm through with my presentation, so I'm going to stop recording, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have, or if I went over something too fast, or if you guys want to explore something, I'll be here to help you. So let me stop my recording.